3 years of marriage and my husband never touched me, not once, not even on our wedding night when I wore the white cotton nightgown I'd saved for months to buy, not in the mornings when we woke up side by side. Not in the evenings when I tried everything I could think of to make him want me. And when I finally discovered why after finding text messages on the phone he'd forgotten at home that said, "I love you," and she doesn't suspect anything signed by someone named Jay who used words like "my handsome one" and "my hot one." I realized my husband Robert wasn't having an affair with another woman, he was having an affair with a man named John. And I'd spent 3 years destroying myself thinking I was ugly and undesirable when the truth was I could have been the most beautiful woman on earth and it wouldn't have mattered because I was the wrong gender entirely. And my 24-year-old virgin self who'd been raised evangelical and taught that purity was sacred had been used as a convenient Christian facade. So a closeted gay man could look normal to his church and family while living his real life every Saturday when he said he was visiting a friend. If you want to know how a woman who went to the gynecologist after a year of marriage and was told, according to your exam, "Your hymen is still intact, you're still a virgin," finally found the courage to confront the man who'd stolen the best years of her youth. And how discovering that your husband is gay somehow hurts less than spending 3 years believing you're so repulsive that even your own husband won't touch you. Hit that subscribe button right now because this is about learning that sometimes the cruelest thing someone can do isn't breaking your heart, it's making you think your heart was never worth having in the first place. And sometimes the truth that destroys you is also the truth that finally sets you free. I'm from Springfield, Ohio. Where are you watching from? My name is Catherine and I'm 59 years old now. But when this story began, I was 24, working at a fabric store in rural Ohio, living with my widowed mother and 2 younger sisters, raised evangelical in a Pentecostal church where purity was everything and sex before marriage was unthinkable. I met Daniel on a Sunday in March 1990. He was 28, an accountant, tall and handsome with dark hair slicked back with gel, always in a suit and tie. He started attending our church, making conversation after services, asking simple questions at first. Then he invited me for ice cream. My mother gave permission with a discreet smile. We went to an old-fashioned parlor with formica tables and a noisy ceiling fan. He ordered vanilla, I ordered strawberry. The conversation was easy, natural. He talked about his faith, how he'd been saved at 20, how he followed the Lord's ways. I told him about losing my father, working at the fabric store, my dreams of having my own home, maybe my own children. We officially started dating a week later. Daniel asked to speak with my mother, came to our house with chocolates and a Bible under his arm. "Mrs. Margaret, I came to ask permission to date Catherine. My intentions are serious. I want to get to know her better and, God willing, maybe build a family." My mother was charmed by his formality, his respect. The courtship was everything I'd always dreamed of. Daniel was attentive, romantic in his own way. He took me for walks, to cafes, to special services at other churches. He always brought me home before 10 at night. He never tried anything beyond chaste kisses and brief hugs. I thought that was perfect proof that he respected me, that he valued my purity. There was one time, about 3 months after we started dating, when I went to his apartment to bring him a casserole because he had the flu. When the mood changed and he kissed me longer than usual, I responded, feeling butterflies in my stomach. But when he realized things were heating up, he pulled away abruptly. "Sorry, Catherine, we can't, it's not right." God is watching. He was proving again that he was a man of principles. 6 months into our relationship, Daniel proposed in front of the whole church. He knelt down with a small silver ring and said, "Catherine, will you marry me? Build a family, serve God together until death do us part?" "Yes, I will." The whole church applauded. My mother cried with emotion. We set the wedding for 6 months later. We rented a small 2-bedroom house, chose furniture together, bought curtains and kitchen utensils. During the engagement, we continued with that chaste courtship. Daniel never crossed the line. Some of my church friends found it strange. "My fiancé can barely wait for me," said Christine, a coworker who also attended church. "We have to control ourselves a lot not to sin before marriage." "But your Daniel seems like he doesn't even have the desire." I got irritated with these comments, defended my fiancé, said he was different, that he had self-control. I believed it. The wedding day was beautiful. November 9th, 1990. I married in white with a simple dress my mother and a seamstress friend made. Daniel looked handsome in his navy blue suit. The ceremony was moving. The pastor spoke about how man and woman become one flesh. We exchanged rings, kissed timidly, left the church under rice. I was so happy I felt like I would burst. I was finally a married woman. I would finally have my own home, my own family. And finally, that night, I would experience what all married women knew, the intimacy of marriage. When the party ended, we went to our house. Daniel opened the door and carried me over the threshold in the traditional way. Then we stood in the living room looking at each other. I was nervous, afraid, but also excited. It was the night I'd waited 24 years for. He seemed nervous too, running his hand through his hair, loosening his tie. "I'll shower first," he finally said. "You shower too, get ready and we'll talk." I changed into the white cotton nightgown I'd bought especially for the wedding night. Simple but pretty down to my knees. I brushed my teeth, brushed my hair, put on light perfume. My heart was beating so hard I thought it would burst. Daniel came out of the bathroom in pajamas, entered the bedroom, and saw me sitting on the edge of the bed. He looked at me for a long moment. "You look beautiful, Catherine." I smiled shyly. "Thank you." He sat on the other side of the bed, keeping distance. We stayed in silence for a few minutes until I finally asked, "Are you nervous?" He nodded. "Very. Me too, but it's normal, right? It's the first time for both of us." He turned to me with a strange expression I couldn't decipher. "Catherine, I was thinking, couldn't we wait until tomorrow? We're very tired." "It's been a long day." I didn't understand. "Tomorrow, but today is our wedding night." "I know," he said, looking away, "but I'm really exhausted and I want it to be special, not something done in a rush. Tomorrow we'll be more rested." I was disappointed but understood. "Okay, tomorrow then." He smiled with relief, kissed my forehead, and lay down on his side of the bed. I lay down on my side. We stayed there side by side but not touching until we fell asleep. And I had no idea that tomorrow would turn into weeks, months, and eventually years of waiting for something that would never happen. The promise of tomorrow never came. On Sunday morning, Daniel was already up, having coffee, dressed, and ready for church. That night when we returned, I showered and got ready again. I put on the same nightgown, entered the bedroom, and Daniel was sitting on the bed reading the Bible. He closed it. "Catherine, we need to talk about something." My heart sank. "What?" He took a deep breath. "I have a problem. A problem that makes certain things difficult." "What kind of problem?" He blushed, looked away. "It's a physical thing, but I'm treating it. I went to the doctor a few months ago and he gave me medication. It'll get better, just needs time." I didn't understand. "A physical problem like an illness?" "Not exactly, it's more of a difficulty, but it'll pass. I just ask that you be patient with me." I'd been raised with no sex education whatsoever. I didn't understand anything about the male body, about what could go wrong. I just knew my husband was telling me he had a problem and needed time, and I, wanting to be a good wife, decided to be patient. "Okay, Daniel. We'll wait as long as necessary." He seemed so relieved, he hugged me tight. "Thank you for understanding. You're a blessing in my life." The weeks went by. Daniel was a good husband in all other aspects. He helped with housework, did shopping with me, talked about our day. We watched television together at night, had dinner at the kitchen table. But when night came and we went to bed, it was always the same. He'd turn to his side and sleep. At first I tried to initiate something. I'd move closer to him, put my hand on his shoulder, try a more intense kiss, but he always gently pulled away. "Not today, honey. I'm very tired," or "I had a stressful day at work," or "my head is hurting." There was always an excuse, and I, with no experience, not knowing how these things worked, accepted it. After 2 months of marriage, my mother started asking subtle questions. "So, daughter, any news to tell me?" She wanted to know if I was pregnant. "No, Mom, not yet," she frowned. "Are you two using protection?" I lied. "We are. We want to enjoy just the two of us first." The church ladies also started commenting. Rosemary, an older woman, pulled me aside after service. "Catherine, in the first months of marriage, it's important to be a complete wife to your husband. If you refuse him too much, he might look elsewhere." I turned red with shame and anger. "I don't refuse him anything, Mrs. Rosemary." That left me thinking, was the problem me? Was I not attractive enough? I started dressing up more, bought prettier sleepwear, started wearing light makeup. Nothing changed. At 6 months of marriage, I tried to talk about it more directly. "Daniel, are you still taking those medications the doctor prescribed?" He was washing dishes and stopped, becoming tense. I am, why? Because it's been months and we still haven't. I couldn't finish the sentence. He sighed. Catherine, these things take time. I need you to continue being patient. But until when? I want to be your wife for real. I want to have children. He interrupted me, coming to hug me. I know, I want that too. But pressuring me only makes it worse. You don't understand how difficult this is for me, how inadequate I feel. I felt enormous guilt. He was right, I was being selfish. I'm sorry. I won't pressure you anymore. After that conversation, I stopped bringing up the subject. I pretended everything was fine, but inside something was dying. My self-esteem plummeted. I started feeling ugly, undesirable, defective. I'd look in the mirror and see a woman that not even her own husband wanted to touch. I lost weight. I got dark circles. I slept poorly. It was around this time that I met Patricia at the fabric store. She was a divorced woman about 35 with no filter when speaking. During lunch break, the girls talked about husbands, about intimacy. I always stayed quiet, until one day Patricia asked me directly. And you, Catherine, how is it with your husband? How long have you been married? 6 months. She narrowed her eyes. Is it good, or are you saying it's good? I felt embarrassed. The other girls laughed, thinking it was shyness. A few days later, Patricia pulled me aside. Can I ask you a personal question? Your husband, does he touch you? I turned red. That's very personal, Patricia. I know, but I'm asking because I've noticed some things. You seem unhappy and have a neediness in your eyes that's not normal for a newlywed. I couldn't hold back. I told her everything. The 6 months without intimacy, the excuses, the health problem he claimed to have. The feeling of failing as a wife. Patricia listened without interrupting. Catherine, I don't want to scare you, but this isn't normal. A healthy 28-year-old man doesn't go 6 months without touching his wife, especially a pretty wife like you. Something's wrong here, but he said he has a problem he's treating. She made a skeptical face. What kind of problem? Have you seen a prescription, seen him taking medicine? I thought about it. No, I never had. That conversation planted a seed of doubt. I started paying more attention. I looked for medications in the apartment but found nothing, looked for medical prescriptions, nothing. Around our 1-year anniversary, I went to a gynecologist to do some tests, more to get my mother off my back than because I believed the problem was me. The doctor, after examining me, said I was perfectly healthy and fertile. Then she said something that confused me even more. You mentioned you've been married over a year and trying to get pregnant, but according to the exam, your hymen is still intact. I froze. What? You're still a virgin, Catherine. I felt the world spin. What do you mean, I'm married? She looked at me with an expression that mixed pity and concern. I know you're married, but physically you've never had relations. This is unusual. Is everything okay at home? I lied that yes and left there in shock. A virgin. After more than a year of marriage, I was still a virgin, and the pieces finally started falling into place. Daniel didn't have any health problem. He simply didn't want to be with me. The question I couldn't answer was why. After the gynecologist appointment, I went home in a state of shock. I started paying attention to things I'd previously ignored, small details. The way Daniel avoided any situation that could lead to intimacy, how he never saw me change clothes, how his gaze never lingered on my body even when I was in a nightgown. There were also the increasingly frequent outings. Daniel had started going out alone on Saturday afternoons, saying he was visiting a friend from the company, John. He'd come back late, close to midnight, always with the same excuse. We were talking and time got away. He always spoke of John with special affection in his voice. John is so smart. John understands me like no one else. It was Patricia who brought up another possibility I'd never considered. Catherine, I'm going to ask you a difficult question. Don't get mad at me. Have you considered the possibility that your husband doesn't like women? I looked at her without understanding. What do you mean? That he likes men? It took me a few seconds to process what she was suggesting. I felt my face get hot. No, Daniel isn't. He can't be. He's a Christian. He goes to church. Patricia took my hand. Catherine, there are plenty of Christian people who are gay. The two things aren't mutually exclusive. I shook my head vehemently. No, that's not it. He loves me, she sighed. Loving and desiring are different things, Catherine. I tried to push those thoughts away, but they kept coming back. One Saturday when Daniel left again to visit John, I did something I'd never done. I followed him. He got off the bus in a neighborhood I didn't know well, walked a few blocks, and entered a building. I stayed across the street, hidden behind a tree. I stayed there for almost an hour until I saw him come out. But he wasn't alone. He was with a tall, blonde, handsome guy with glasses. They were laughing, talking animatedly. And then I saw something that made my world stop. The guy put his hand on Daniel's back in a gesture that was too intimate to be just friendship. Daniel didn't pull away, he seemed comfortable with the touch. I ran home. When Daniel arrived home cheerful, whistling, I felt anger, real anger for the first time. "How was the visit with John?" I asked, observing his reaction. "It was good. We talked about work, about some football stuff." Liar, I thought. In the following days, I paid even more attention. Daniel received calls on the landline that he always answered in another room, speaking quietly. Once when he was in the shower, the phone rang and I answered. The voice on the other end was male, young. "Hello, is Daniel there? He's in the shower, want to leave a message." There was a pause. "No, I'll call back," and hung up. One Sunday afternoon, I came home and found Daniel's cell phone on the bed. He'd forgotten it. It was one of those old phones with a keypad. I'd never touched his phone, but at that moment, with all the suspicions boiling in my head, I picked it up. My hand trembled when I opened the messages. There were several messages from a number with no name. I opened it. "Love, I miss you. When are we seeing each other again?" My stomach churned. I scrolled up. Daniel responded. "I miss you too, but it's hard to get out without raising suspicions. Tomorrow, maybe." I kept reading, each word a stab. "I love you. I think about you all the time. She doesn't suspect anything." So he had another woman. After everything? But then, reading more carefully, I noticed something. The other person always signed as J and used masculine terms. My handsome one, my hot one, my love, John. It wasn't a woman, it was a man. Daniel was having an affair with John. I felt nausea so strong I had to run to the bathroom. I threw up everything in my stomach. It all made sense now, a horrible, devastating sense. Daniel was gay. He'd married me to hide, to have a facade of normalcy before the church and society. I was his cover. The convenient lie. All those Saturdays he said he was visiting his friend, he was having romantic encounters. All those nights he slept next to me without touching me, he was probably thinking of him. I stayed on the bathroom floor until I heard the front door open. "Catherine, are you home?" It was Daniel. He'd come back to get his phone. I got up trembling, washed my face, came out of the bathroom. He was in the bedroom. "Ah, here it is," he said, picking up the phone. I looked at him with a mixture of hate and pain I'd never felt before. "Were you looking for this?" I asked. He noticed something in my tone. Why, I read your messages, Daniel. I read them all." I saw the color drain from his face. The phone fell from his hand onto the bed. "Catherine, I can explain." "Explain what?" I screamed. "Explain that you're cheating on me, that you're having an affair with a man, that you used me as a facade for a year and a half." He tried to approach. I backed away. "Don't touch me. Don't you dare touch me." He put his hands over his face, destroyed. "I didn't want you to find out like this." "Oh, so when did you want me to find out? After 10 years, 20? "Never." He sat on the edge of the bed with his head in his hands. "I didn't want to hurt you, Catherine. I really care about you, just not the way I should. I've been like this since forever. I tried to change, prayed, fasted, asked God to cure me, but it didn't work. I thought if I got married, if I did everything right, maybe the feelings would change. But they didn't." I felt such rage I wanted to scream until my throat hurt. "So you used me as an experiment, as a guinea pig for your gay cure?" "It wasn't like that. I thought it could work. You let me spend a year and a half thinking I was ugly, that I was undesirable, that something was wrong with me. You let me destroy myself inside while you had your secret life with your lover." He sobbed louder. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I was a coward, I was selfish, but I was afraid of what the church would say, what my family would say. Being this was unthinkable, it was a sin. So you sacrificed me to save your reputation. Is that it?" He didn't answer, just kept crying. "Since when?" I asked, my voice calmer. "With John, since when?" He wiped his face. "Since before I married you. We worked together, it became friendship, and then it became more. I tried to end it when I started dating you, but I couldn't." I felt my heart break even more. "So you were with him the whole time, during our courtship, during our marriage?" "Yes," he whispered. "I'm sorry." I took a deep breath. Do you love me in any way, as a person? Yes, you're special to me, Catherine, but not the way a husband should love a wife. I tried, I swear I tried, but I can't feel attraction to women. Those words spoken out loud were finally both liberating and devastating. At least now I knew. You need to leave, I said with a calmness I didn't know where it came from. Now, he stood up, startled. Catherine, we can talk. There's nothing to talk about. You lied to me, deceived me, used me. I don't want you here. Get your things and go. He stared at me for a long moment. And are you going to tell the church? My family? I thought about the question. Part of me wanted to destroy him like he'd destroyed me. But another part, too tired for revenge, just wanted peace. I don't know. Now leave, please. He started gathering clothes in a backpack. As he was leaving through the door, he stopped. Catherine, I know it doesn't help anything, but I'm truly sorry. I just wish I'd had the courage to be who I am from the beginning. It would have spared a lot of pain for you and for me. I just closed the door in his face. When I heard the front door closing, I collapsed. I cried like I'd never cried in my life. I cried for the lost years, for the destroyed innocence, for the broken trust. I cried for the 24-year-old girl who'd married full of dreams and who now at 26 was alone and destroyed. The following days were a blur. I called work saying I was sick. I didn't get out of bed, didn't eat, just cried and slept. My mother showed up on the third day. When she saw the state I was in, she was horrified. I told her everything. After a long silence, she said, "Thank God you found out now and not 10 years from now with children in the middle." She was right. It could be worse. My mother helped me get up, made me shower, eat something. She called the pastor for an urgent meeting. The pastor was shocked but not disbelieving. Unfortunately, it's not the first time I've seen this happen, men trying to suppress who they really are, using marriage as a mask. He offered to help with the annulment process. The news spread through the church with frightening speed. I stopped attending. I couldn't stand the looks, the whispers, the poorly disguised questions. Daniel tried calling me several times. I didn't answer, until one day he showed up at the store. Patricia faced him and said if he didn't leave, she'd call security. He left, but before he did, he left a letter. I read it that night. It was a long letter asking forgiveness, explaining that he too was a victim of a society that didn't accept who he was. It ended saying he was moving to New York City to live with John to finally be free. He wished I would also find my freedom and happiness. I tore the letter into little pieces. Freedom. He talked about freedom while he'd trapped me in a lie for years. But at the same time, a small part of me understood the desperation of having to hide who you really are, understood the fear. Understood the loneliness of living a lie. It didn't justify what he'd done to me, but I understood. And it was that understanding, as painful as it was, that began my healing process, because I realized it wasn't about me. It never had been. It wasn't because I was ugly or undesirable. It was because I was a woman and he didn't desire women. Simple as that, cruel as that. The following months were of reconstruction, slow, painful, but necessary. I went back to live with my mother temporarily. My sisters supported me. The youngest spent hours trying to make me laugh. The middle one helped me with all the divorce paperwork. I continued working at the fabric store. Patricia was my rock during this period. I started going to therapy. The sessions were difficult, but gradually I was rebuilding myself. The therapist, Dr. Regina, told me something I never forgot. Catherine, Daniel is also a victim of a society that forced him to live a lie. That doesn't justify what he did to you, but understanding the context helps you not carry anger for the rest of your life. Anger is poison. Those words freed me in a way I didn't expect. The divorce process took almost a year. Daniel didn't contest anything. I heard he really had moved to New York with John, that he was living the relationship openly. Part of me was angry at the ease with which he restarted his life. But another part was happy for him, happy that at least one of us had managed to be authentic. When the divorce finally came through in 1993, I was 27 years old. 3 years I'd considered lost, but Dr. Regina taught me to see it differently. It wasn't lost time, Catherine, it was learning time. You learned about resilience, about strength, about forgiveness. I started believing that gradually. I decided to truly start over. I left the fabric store and went to work as a secretary at a school. I met new people, made friends, started dressing differently, wearing makeup, taking better care of myself, not for anyone. For myself. It was at the school that I met Paul. He was a math teacher, 32, also divorced with a 7-year-old daughter. He was a simple man, balding, a bit chubby, but with a sincere smile and gentle eyes. He started making innocent conversation. Gradually, we got closer. One day, he invited me out, just a movie on a Saturday afternoon. I panicked. I hadn't been out with any man since the divorce. I talked to Dr. Regina in therapy. You don't have to go if you don't want to, but if you want to, know that you have the right to be happy, to try again. I decided to go. The date was wonderfully normal. We watched a movie, ate popcorn, talked afterward at a diner. Paul was easy to talk to, funny, interested in really getting to know me. He didn't try anything beyond a quick kiss at the end of the night. He was respectful, kind, everything I needed. We started dating slowly. Paul knew my story. I told him everything in the first few weeks. He listened without judging. He just said, "That must have been very difficult. But you survived. You're a strong woman." With him, for the first time, I didn't feel broken. I felt seen. Intimacy was a challenge. Even after years, even divorced, I was still a virgin. I still had fear, insecurity about my body. Paul was patient, didn't rush me, didn't pressure me. And when we finally were together for the first time, at 29 years old, 7 years after getting married the first time, it was special. It wasn't perfect. It was awkward and nervous. But it was real. It was with someone who truly desired me. I married Paul 2 years later in 1995. Civil ceremony, simple, just with close family. This time it was real. It was true. We had 2 children, now adults and independent. We built a beautiful life together with ups and downs like every marriage has, but with honesty always. Paul died 4 years ago from cancer. I miss him every day. About Daniel, I heard he lived with John for many years in New York. Word reached me that they were happy, that they had their own business, that they lived openly. I was genuinely happy for him. I didn't hold a grudge. It took time, but I managed to forgive, not for what he did, but for myself, because carrying anger only hurt me. Daniel passed away in 2010, also from cancer. I went to the funeral. John was there, devastated. When he saw me, he didn't know if he should approach. I approached him. "I'm sorry, he loved you very much." John started crying. "Thank you, he always spoke of you with respect. Always said you were a special person, that you deserved more than he could give." That comforted me in a strange way. Today, at 59 years old, I look back and see those 3 years of marriage with Daniel not as lost time, but as part of my journey. Was it painful? It was. Was it unfair? Completely. But it also taught me valuable lessons. It taught me about compassion, about forgiveness, about resilience. It taught me that life is rarely black and white, that people are complex, that we're all fighting invisible battles. I also learned about the cruelty of a society that forces people to live lies. Daniel wasn't a monster. He was a gay man in a time and community where being gay was unthinkable. He made wrong choices. Yes, he hurt me deeply. But he also suffered. And recognizing that doesn't diminish my pain, but it allows me to live in peace. If there's anything I'd like to say to anyone going through something similar, it's this: you're not alone, and it's not your fault. If you're in a marriage without intimacy, if you feel something's wrong, trust your instincts. Seek help, talk, demand truth, because you deserve to live an authentic life with someone who loves and desires you completely. And if you're someone living a lie, hiding who you really are out of fear of judgment, know that the truth always liberates. It may be painful at first, it may cost relationships, it may be difficult. But living authentically is the only path to true happiness. And involving other people in your lie only multiplies the pain. I don't hold resentment toward Daniel. I hope that wherever he is, he found peace. My story isn't unique. I know many women and men have gone through similar situations, but I want you to know it's possible to start over. It's possible to find happiness again. It's possible to forgive and move forward. Today I live alone, but not lonely. I have my children, my grandchildren, my friends. I have a life full of meaning and purpose. And when I look in the mirror, I like the woman I see, a woman who survived, who grew, who learned, who forgave. A strong woman, not because she never fell, but because she always got up. Those 3 years of marriage seemed like a lifetime ago now. They were difficult, they were painful, they almost destroyed me, but they didn't. And in the end, they made me who I am today, and for that, in a strange way, I'm grateful. Grateful for the pain that taught me strength, grateful for the betrayal that taught me truth, grateful for the end that allowed me a new beginning. Share your story with us. If you're in a marriage without intimacy, if you've spent years believing you're undesirable when the truth is your partner just isn't attracted to your gender, if you've been used as a convenient Christian facade while someone lives their real life in secret, know this. It's not your fault, you're not ugly, you're not broken, and you deserve someone who wants you completely. And if you're someone hiding who you really are, using marriage as a mask because your church or family or society won't accept the truth, please don't trap someone else in your closet with you. The pain of honesty is sharp but temporary. The pain of deception lasts decades. Trust that. Choose truth, choose freedom, and choose it before you make someone else pay the price for your fear.